Hello and welcome to the Retail Week, our look back at one of the biggest stories of the last 7 days. I'm George MacDonald, Executive Editor of Retail Week, and I'm joined by my colleagues Grace Bowden, one of our reporters, and Head of Content Luke Tugby. It has been a big week in retail. We've had Black Friday, we've had Cyber Monday, and now all eyes are on the Christmas period itself. So we're going to talk a bit about how the Black Friday promotions went and what that might tell us about how Christmas will play out. If we just start by looking back, what are the big takeaways, do you think, Luke, from Black Friday this year?
I think a lot of people I've spoken to seem to be saying that I don't think it's just this year, I think it started last year, but it's been a case of spend has been delayed from September, October, rather than spend being pulled forward from Christmas.
Right.
So actually you would imagine that would be a good thing for retailers come Christmas. They should still get a bit of a peak in the last couple of weeks before the big day. And something else that one chief exec mentioned to me yesterday, it was off the record, so I won't say who, but I guess there's two ways of looking at the whole Brexit piece. Are people going to really scale back because of the uncertainty, or the way they looked at it was, it's the last Christmas before Brexit.
Right.
Let's really make sure we enjoy ourselves.
People said that last year, didn't they?
Well, it has dragged on a lot longer than people thought, but I think that would, on a personal level, be my mentality. If you look, we don't know what the next 3, 4, 5 years are going to hold. We might have to really scale back. So let's actually enjoy this one last Christmas before we can, and while we can.
Well,
so hopefully that will be a good thing for retail.
Yeah, happy Christmas, everyone.
Good God.
But an interesting point about spending possibly being delayed until Black Friday rather than pulling spend forward, and I think that's backed up when you look at the John Lewis numbers. You know, they said that Black Friday week was their biggest ever sales week, I think it was. But if you look at the chart that shows weekly performance, you can see that actually it's pretty flat, in fact, year on year. So it might have been a great week, but it doesn't seem to have particularly bucked the general trend. Grace, when you look back, any particular takeaways from Black Friday from your point of view? I think, as far as we know, spending was actually down on the day, wasn't it?
I believe so, yeah. I seem to think that in traffic, I believe, footfall was down as well. Online did well, but I'm not sure the same can be said for offline sales. I think it's really interesting because it feels like it's getting to a stage now where retailers are interesting, because it feels like it's getting to a stage now where retailers are kind of trying to second guess consumers, and consumers are being quite fickle.
Yeah.
Because over the last few years, you've heard people saying like, "Oh, we're going to offer a month's worth of deals. We're going to pull deals back over the last, the majority of November."
Yeah.
And I remember when I talked to Steve at AO, that they were really saying like, that's what we're going to do. We're going to have different offers every week in the build up to the day itself. And you'd think that would be a strategy that would have borne fruit, and perhaps it has for some retailers online particularly. But it does seem like, as you say, it just seems to have delayed earlier month spend rather than bringing spend forward, which on one hand is a bit of a double-edged sword, because as you say, people probably still have some change in the coffers left for Christmas, but at the same time, it's not offered the boost that they might have been looking for either. So it's a bit damned if you do, damned if you don't, which is interesting.
Yeah, as you say, because of the fact a lot of retailers ran deals over quite an extended period, it's actually quite hard to read, because where does the day fit into that? Is there too much focus, I wonder, on the actual day?
I also think, speaking anecdotally as a shopper, once you've got these 3 week leading up to Black Friday sales periods, I do in my head find it much harder to justify why you're ever charging full price. Do you see what I mean? If it's like a 1 day sales bonanza, as much as that's mental and leads to people punching each other up over tellies, it is this sense of this is a one-off, it's going to happen now and it's not going to happen again. But as a shopper, if you're walking in and seeing deals for 3 weeks of November, as you will of a fair few number of retailers, it's hard to then justify why you're going to pay more for it in December.
No.
I just think psychologically it's an interesting line to tread.
I mean, let's turn to December.
Yeah.
How do you think that Christmas is going to go for the industry?
I mean, looking at some figures from global data, it sounds like it's going to be sort of up, but the word they used was modest.
Right.
So I think overall they're expecting sales to be up around 2%. That will be driven by food and then inflation in food prices. Non-food's also going to edge up as well, but the highest percent that anything's going to edge up is 2.5, and that's driven by inflation.
Yeah.
So it doesn't sound like a blockbuster year outside of the Tugby household, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, total retail sales, global data are forecasting to be a bit down year on year, aren't they? That 2% is compared to 2.3 last year. Food down, as you mentioned, inflation effect there. Non-food sort of pretty flat, 1.6 versus 1.5 they had last year. Which categories do you think are going to do well?
I think probably there's certain categories that didn't go that big on Black Friday. If you look at books, for example, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't see too many deals going around. Even on Amazon, they promote their own products, they promote Echo and whatnot. So I think books will still sell pretty well. I think it's the bigger ticket items that will really struggle. Electricals will be an interesting one. There's no new consoles or anything this year that will drive spend, but will people still go out and buy games for their PS4 and Nintendo Switch and whatnot, potentially?
Yeah, it's a big, obviously electrical's a big Black Friday category as well,
exactly.
So you wonder whether there's any particular distortion happens there. Grace, what are your thoughts?
Well, it seems like, health and beauty seems like it is generally one of the most resilient sectors at the moment, but it seems like that's going to be another sector that is particularly resilient this year. Global data said of the non-food categories, that will be the category that drives spend. I think the thing that's interesting is that the idea of people trading up and getting a posh bottle of perfume or something like that for Christmas isn't necessarily anything new. I think what will be interesting is where they get them from, because obviously department stores, beauty halls have been such a mainstay of their offer in recent years, and it does feel like maybe that's sort of slightly starting to wane, and retailers are going for shoppers, I should say, are going for different avenues. So, I mean, I would imagine that either the bricks and mortar businesses with really aspirational, Instagram savvy brands in store will probably do quite well. So the likes of probably Selfridges with is it Selfridges and Harvey? Whoever's got Fenty will do well. Superdrug, I reckon, with Nip and Fab and Revolution will do well. I also think online players are going to do well. Feel Unique, Beauty Bay, Look Fantastic, all of those guys. How well traditional department stores do, I would be less sure on. And obviously, they are in many ways the primary driver of sales just because of the availability, but I do think the proportion of just how big their Christmas is comparatively year-on-year growth-wise versus some of those more nimble, either brand savvy bricks and mortar players or e-commerce players will be, I think it'll flip a little bit.
Yeah. And just to pick up on the point you made about trading up as well, obviously grocery is always in the limelight around Christmas, and I think global data was saying growth will slow slightly because it's against quite a tough inflation-driven comparable from last year, but I think in terms of sales volumes, it will probably be roughly the same, if not a slight uptick. So, and again, when it comes to trading up, do people trade up to a different supermarket, to Sainsbury's, to Waitrose, to M&S, or do you go to Aldi and take their premium ranges, which are improving year on year and making life really tough for the established players?
Yeah, I'm sure Aldi and Lidl will have another good Christmas. Do you think it'll be a value Christmas generally, as everyone's shivers and shakes in anticipation of Brexit?
It could well be. And I think you were talking the other day, Grace, about, was it Poundland launching Faux Malone candles or something, and you just think, well, if you go and see them in store and actually they are near enough the same as the real thing and they're 60% cheaper, okay, you might open it and think, what the hell is Faux Malone? But if you use it and it's decent, then it's a present worth buying people. And I think people in general will have that kind of psyche this year because of what is around the corner. But we'll see.
Yeah, okay. We will draw things to a close. Please do let us know what you think. You can comment on our site and join us next week. Thanks for watching.